been that person. Also, you may think to yourself, that's a good idea, I might use that. Did a bit of research behind it. And I've spoke to two of my colleagues that I work with on a daily basis, just to get some ideas from them as well. So it's not just what I believe, it's what others believe as well, okay? So just want to put a big shout out to obviously the company we work for, Elevated Minds, for the hard work they do. I'm also in London at the moment, but obviously we know we're kind of spreading out to Birmingham. As some of you may know or you didn't know, but yes, there's a few of us in Birmingham, and we're going to try and obviously persist with the kind of hard work that we do in London, in Birmingham as well, okay? Now then, so just a quick thing that I need to share with you all. So copyright 2023 Elevated Mind CIC. So cover and internal design, Elevated Mind CIC, all rights reserved, no parts of this course, sorry, give me a second, maybe reproduced in any form by electronic or mechanical means, including information, storage, and retrieval systems, except in case of brief quotations in articles or reviews, without the permission in writing from its publisher, Elevated Mind CIC. All brand names and product names used in this course are trademarks, registered trademarks, or trade names of their respective holders. We are not associated with any product or vendor, okay? If you do have any questions about this here, please fire away at the end, or I'll leave my email at the end and we can talk about it if need be, okay? So having challenging conversations. So what is a challenging conversation? Is it any different from a difficult conversation? Okay, a big difference. A challenging conversation is one that deals with tough topics that make you feel uncomfortable. This type of conversation usually results in mixed up ideas or an endless string of debates that go nowhere. Okay, a difficult conversation is one that you'd rather avoid. Okay, there's a need to manage your emotions and information sensitively. Although slightly different by definition, challenging and difficult conversations are one and the same thing. Okay, so slightly different, and how you approach them are slightly different. Okay, so effective communication techniques. Okay, so carefully consider what you want to say. Okay, and then work out the best way to say it. Okay, knowing this in advance will help keep you focused and calm during the conversation, enable the person to truly hear, understand what you have to say, okay? So very, very key there, okay? They need to understand exactly what you have to say, okay? So be clear in what you're saying. Choose your words wisely, 100%, and take note of your own body language, something that I've had to look at myself when having my own challenging conversation. Think about the other person's perspective and how they may perceive what you have to say. Okay, so it's not just thinking about yourself and what you're trying to deliver. Okay, you've got to think of the other person at hand as well. Okay, and also consider how they may react or respond, then prepare yourself to handle it respectively. Okay, I always say now, from my previous experience, okay, I've always had to prepare when I'm talking to my son, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. Okay, as a father, having a challenging conversation with his son, there's something I've had to kind of change myself, okay, in preparing what I want to say beforehand, because going in blind could end up being a difficult one, okay? So you can see 6 images, okay? Now I'm going to give you 20 seconds, okay, to think about, or even you can guess what each of these images actually trying to show, okay? And it's all to do with communication. Okay, we're going to discuss these. We'll give you 20 seconds to think about it, and then we'll discuss together as a group. If you would like to write into the chat, by all means you can, or you can wait for me to just give the answers out, and then we can discuss those together. Okay, your 20 seconds starts now. Okay, last 10 seconds. Can I see anything in the chat? Let's have a look. Okay. Second picture is an apology. Okay, interesting. Let's have a look. Right. Okay, interesting. So the first one, thank you for the person that's popped their information in there. Appreciate that. So the first one, maintain eye contact. Okay. I think what I used to do a lot when I'm having a challenging conversation is I'm looking down at the floor, I'm looking around the room thinking what I'm going to say. I haven't planned anything. So I'm just going off what I've been told, and really I should plan it. So maintain eye contact. When you're prepared, guys, all these 6 images will help you, okay? Second one, beware of their body language, as well as beware of both your body language as well as theirs, okay? If you can see them all looking all frustrated, okay, it's going to go left, okay? You want to try and keep them calm, okay, because you need to come with a solution to deal with the problem, okay? Next one, allow them to speak without interruptions. Now, this one's quite interesting because I was one of these parents who didn't really allow my son to kind of speak, okay? He did speak, but I always interrupted him. But what about this? What about that? I don't understand, okay? We didn't really get anywhere. I felt like I did, but to himself, he didn't, okay? And it's not fair on him, okay? So now the approach is to allow them to speak without interruptions. Show genuine empathy, okay? If needed to show you care, because really and truthfully, if you show you don't care, are you really gonna are you really gonna come to a conversation where you're both going to be happy, or the fact of he's going to feel like, you know what, I've had the conversation, I feel a bit better, okay? It's not about them feeling bad all the time, okay? Right, being attentive, or showing that you are attentive, okay? Now, you could show with a friendly smile or even a nod, depending on how they are at the time. I mean, in this image here, the person's obviously upset, as you can see, but we're trying to avoid that happening, okay? So show you're attentive and show a friendly smile. You don't have to show that you're angry all the time, okay? And the last one, listen carefully to understand their thoughts and feelings, okay? You may be told something that they've done wrong, okay? And you're having that conversation, but you've got to understand how they're thinking at the same time. They're going to probably going to be scared to have that conversation with you, okay? And the biggest thing is half listening will not help. Listen to them properly, listen to them fully, let them explain exactly what needs to be said. Then you can add your part in, whether it's a solution or problem solve the actual situation itself, okay? So, going on with communication, it's active listening, an important part of effective communication. Communication involves more than just words, as I kind of briefly explained. It compromises our words, what we say, our tone. Biggest problem myself there, how we say it, our gestures, our body languages, and our facial expressions. Example, smiling, frowning, rolling eyes, etc. Communication is a combination of these factors. Whether we like it or not all these factors determine how our message is received and interpreted. Now, I'll be honest with you, and a lot of us come from a Caribbean background, and growing up, having these conversations with my mom, she did all those things, okay? It was a norm. She rolled her eyes, she frowned. It's the norm, okay? But we've got to try and get out of this habit now where we're not doing those things and we're more supporting, okay? A lot of the kids are a lot more vocal now, and we want them to express themselves. If they've done wrong, we can talk about it, okay? It's all about how we perceive ourselves to the young people, okay? So, using appropriate questions to manage challenging conversations. Now, there's a lot of things that we can say which can actually interrupt and make our conversations a lot more problematic, okay? I'm going to show you a few things now, discuss these, which should help us to move forward when having these challenging conversations. So be very careful with questions and plan your questions for a safer conversation. Try and plan ahead, okay? Just to get the information that you need to build a solution. Probing questions. Probing questions seek more detailed answers to specific situations. An example of a probing question, Why did you do that? Okay. What made you think it was a good idea? How do you feel about it now? Okay. The pros behind those, it provides much more depth and detail. Okay. It gives the person to speak and answer. Okay. Why did you do that? They'll tell you why they did it, if they do. The cons, okay, with this type of question is other person might feel they're being interrogated. Okay. So we need to be careful when we use probing questions. Okay. I'm not saying you can't use them, but be careful when you do use them, okay? We don't want anyone to feel interrogated. We want the children to let us know exactly what it is. Whether it's a child or an adult, whatever it is, we want them to let us know what the problem is. Second one, leading questions, okay? Leading questions sway people into giving the answer you are looking for. An example of a leading question is, you're not suggesting that. Surely you must admit that. Pros, there's no benefits. Avoid these type of questions. Okay, avoid as best as possible. Cons with this, it puts words into the other person's mouth and leads them to your own conclusions. Okay, so try and avoid, okay, leading questions. I know these are things that we may know already, but when you're angry or if you're having this conversation or how it's going, you may end up using a leading question. Okay, so try and avoid these. Number 3, multiple questions. I was a problem for one of these. Asking many questions at the same time. Example, can you tell me what happened, how you felt, and what you did about it? There's no way we can do this, okay? It's really going to put the child off, okay? Because they're going to be confusing what's going on. And as you can see, there's no benefits. Avoid them, okay? The other person will be unsure of what part of the question to answer first, resulting in confusion. And then when they sound confused and they're stuttering, you're going to automatically jump in. Well, see, you're stuttering. Okay. We need to think and change our approach when we're having these conversations, but avoid multiple questions. Okay. So avoid leading questions and avoid multiple questions. Now then, we're going to go on to something that we've shared as a team, but I'm going to explain it a bit more. Okay. So just remember the CAR framework, okay? Connection, awareness, and respect, okay? So as a past experience, okay, and I mentioned earlier as a caring dad to my son and my daughter, but more so to my son because he's in secondary school, I had a phone call from his school one day, okay? Something he did, I was very unhappy, and I knew I had to address the conversation with him that evening. I was angry. I was at work, I was teaching at the time. I made a phone call. I think the teacher called me, left the answer phone message, and I called them back on my lunch break. So I went into my last lesson angry, okay? When I got home, he was home already, and I went to his room. Initially, I shouted at him, okay? Asking him questions about the situation as a concerned parent, as anyone would do, okay? Shouting wasn't the best thing to do. Now I know that. This is from past experience. I felt better to tell him off, grounded him, and took his PlayStation at his room. Okay. Is this the correct way to have a challenging conversation? No, it's not. Even though I feel better in what I did, how does he feel? Okay. And he made it very clear, probably a week or so after, Dad, you didn't listen to me. Okay. You just shouted at me. Okay. So then I had to go and change my ways. Okay. So then this framework, which I'll explain now. So before we explain, actually, sometimes the environment needs to change to have the perfect conversation. Now, we decided as a group at Elevated Minds, okay, the environment plays a very, very big part. Bad energies are not good or positive in a room where they sleep or feel comfortable. Now, why I went straight to his room? He stayed in his room for the whole evening after that, after being told off. He didn't come back. He came out for his dinner. He went straight to his room. Then he goes to sleep. I'm not really putting him in a situation where the conversation been positive or made him feel any better about the situation. Yes, he knows he's done something silly, but I did it all wrong, okay? So now we go for a drive in the car. If you do not have a car, you can possibly walk, anything outdoors, even go for a meal, change the environment, okay? And with the car creates freedom. My popular question to my son is, where do you want to go? And he'll say to me, Dad, can we just go for a drive towards Asda or towards the motorway, okay? Now then, let's explain it. When I'm in my car, okay, I'm building a connection with my son, okay? Okay, so I'm asking him or find out what the problem is, okay? I'm showing that I'm aware, okay? I'm showing awareness to him. So he'll explain what the situation is. I can probe some questions towards him, okay? And I'm also going to show him respect, okay? Now, not only are you probably thinking, well, why in the car, okay? And I'm going to show you the difference between a car and obviously in the house. So in his room or in an environment where he always is, because he now prefers to be in the car, okay? So my colleagues, okay, we put the scenarios to both my colleagues. I'm not going to mention their names. And I kind of asked them what they did, okay? And it's very similar, so it's quite interesting, okay? So colleague number one, seeing her son that he's not quite himself, okay? She likes to create a safe space for him to speak, okay? She shows acknowledgement, okay? She tries to understand why he reacted the way he did without judging, okay? Clear word, without judging. Gets her son to confirm his feelings, okay? It's not just about what we're thinking and our feelings, that he has feelings too, okay? And the questions that she likes to probe to him, because she does this quite regularly, okay? If you had to do that again, how would you do it differently? Okay, and this one here for me was very key. Get him to problem solve the scenario, okay? So just think about that there, okay? Two good things there. So if you had to do it again, how would you do it differently? And get him to problem solve. Then you can both come up with solutions together. So if that situation comes up again, there's a way of dealing with it, okay? And seeing when her son is down, do you want to go for a night drive? Okay, so this is what I've learned to do as well, okay? It's the environment he feels more relaxed and comfortable, okay? Outside the home for him to be relaxed to talk while we're driving, okay? Now, not saying it's going to work straight away, okay? It might be something different, but it's something to try, okay? My colleague number two. So, scenario is slightly different, okay? But I'm going to show you how it kind of links into the car framework, the connection, awareness, and respect. So the colleague was on the way to a photo shoot, okay, driving a car, and the son said he wanted to speak to her. Now, the connection that was brought to attention was her son was asked, what do you want to tell me, okay? Because her theory is it is okay to speak about whatever, as mum will be there to listen, okay? The connection there straight away, just listening, okay? The awareness, the son stated that he wanted to spend more time with his mum, okay? And the questions that was probed to him was, how does it make you feel? How do you feel when I don't spend much time with you? What does that mean to you? Okay, so then he has to think deep, okay, and how he feels, and then he'll express. Okay, mum will come with a solution to deal with that problem there. And the respect side of things is her son being able to voice his opinion. Mum is present, listening to support him in whatever son wants to talk about. Okay, so first of all, remember connection, the awareness, and the respect. Okay. Now I'm going to compare both of these because I spoke to them at two different times. I'm going to show you something. I mean, you probably noticed it straight away. Okay. So what I noticed about both scenarios, slightly different. Okay. And look what we've noticed. Both show a connection to their child. Number one, most importantly, both show a connection to their child. So if you're not doing that now, okay, try and build that connection. Both show awareness to their child. Okay, that doesn't just go with how I used to with my approach, but you've done this. No. Okay. And the last one, both show respect. Okay, so these have worked. Okay, I've tried it and it's also worked. And it shows me that now I don't always know everything. Okay, we're always learning. So this is the approach I'm taking. And if you want to take this approach, by all means, do that. Okay. And obviously, we can talk about it if need be. You can email me towards the end, and I can share any information to supporting any of you guys in what you need for connection, awareness, and respect. Now then, so I'm going to do a comparison now, okay, of how I used to do this, okay, how I used to be compared to when I'm in the car. So my body language, when I'm in my house, or when I was in my house and I'd go and speak to my son, having a challenging conversation, I was very defensive. Okay, I was standing quite close to him. Okay, just trying to show authority. It's not going to work. It didn't work. But when I'm in the car, I'm relaxed. Okay, my voice when I'm in the house, it's raised. It's an aggressive tone. When I'm in the car, I'm calm. Why am I calm in the car? Because I have other things to focus on. I've got to think of the road. Okay. And I've got to make sure that I'm understanding and listening to what he has to say. My listening in the house, I was listening to respond. In the car, I'm listening to understand. Okay. My focus in the house is on the child to discipline. I'm listening to him, but I'm like, you know what? Forget this. You're grounded. I'm taking this out. I'm taking your PlayStation out. But in the car, I'm understanding the problem. My mindset in the house to show authority. But in the car, it's solution focused. Okay. And my content, I'm angry and focus on the problem. But in the car, I'm assertive. Okay. So I've had to evaluate myself. Okay. I don't know everything. I brought up a certain way, thinking that would work with my own children, but it's different now. Okay. So this has worked for myself and my colleagues, and it's very interesting. We all came together and it was like, this actually works. Okay. So something that you may want to take on board yourself. Is there anything else you can think of or you'd like to add? Okay, the chat box is open if you'd like to share anything, and I can share it with the rest of the participants in the group. But it's just something that we've come together and found very interesting. Okay, I'll have a look in the chat. Okay. Okay. I'm just looking back at the chat, and as I've missed some of the messages, and I do apologize. So, okay, so positioning in the house, you are facing each other, and in the car, you are side by side. Perfect. Okay, because obviously when I'm face to face, he hardly looks at me. Okay, because he knows I'm angry. In the car, he knows I'm not looking at him, and he can concentrate and say what he wants to say. He can feel confident. It's a good point. Only have a conversation when you are calm and in control of yourself. 1,000,000%. Definitely, I agree on that. Yes, in the car, the side-by-side positioning makes it easy to have a challenging conversation. Perfect. Okay, so it's things that we're all recognizing ourselves. I'm not saying I'm not the only one that has probably done something or been in the house having a challenging conversation, but I feel in the car, it works so much better. But thank you for your points of views and answers. And the ones I missed earlier, I do apologize. Okay. Perfect. We have people agreeing. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right then. So an interesting quote that I've come across that really hits home. Okay. We've all probably read it and heard about it, but it's one that I wanted to share because it's just perfect for this topic right now. Okay. The biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand, we listen to reply. And I can hold my hand up and say, I was one of those people. Okay. I'd hear part of what he said and just jump in straight away. I haven't listened to him fully. I haven't taken everything that he said to understand, to come back with a solution or to say, well, son, what you know about this? Okay. And even, I think we mentioned earlier, what one of my colleagues said, problem solve. Okay. Brilliant thing to do. Problem solve the scenario. What could you have done better if you was in that situation again? Okay, all these things to think about. Okay. Now, overview, okay, of the course we provide, Elevated Minds. Sorry. Why is having challenging conversation? So having challenging conversations, an NCFE accredited program aimed to improve emotional intelligence and communication skills when having difficult conversations. The program is delivered in a group setting and all participants engage in blended learning of facilitation, group discussion, and coaching. Okay. Who is it aimed at? The program is aimed at parents who'd like to learn tools and techniques to develop their communication skills with their child and the high level outcomes. Okay. So for those taking part in the program, that will leave with improved confidence, improved communication skills, i.e. questioning, listening, improved emotional intelligence, and a recognized qualification. To find out more information about this project or to make an inquiry regarding a booking, then please contact our project manager, myself, Cy Campbell, by emailing at simon@elevatedmindscoaching.com. Okay. So I'll leave this there for a second, just in case anybody wants to write my email down and contact me, and I'll get back to you with some information. Okay. So one more time, at simon@elevatedmindscoaching.com. Okay. Right. I was just checking the chat to make sure, because I don't want to feel like I'm ignoring anyone. Or yeah. Now, obviously, one of my colleagues has put a form in the chat. If you click on that form, you can show interest, and then we'll get back to you. So fill the form in. We'll have your information, and we'll get back to you. Okay. Okay, we've got some other question. Veronica Simpson. Hello, sorry.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon.
Okay.
Simon. Yeah, I thought this was really, it was quite simplistic, but so powerful in terms of what you've shared. And, you know, it kind of demonstrates that even though the children are children, and we kind of, you know, we want to be that authority, you know, have that, we're that authoritative kind of figure. Nonetheless, you know, where there's equality and not, we don't have that stance of I'm this person, I'm the parent, I'm the guardian, and having that power and control, releasing that power and control, and then demonstrating equality, then, you know, you're going to have more positive outcomes. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but
No,
that's what I got from it. You can, you know, we want to be that authoritative figure. However, how is that allowing us to develop a nurturing and a relationship where we can communicate honestly, regardless of the circumstances, when we take away that I am this, I am your mum, I am your, do you know what I mean? And we say, okay, there's a quality. Let me listen to what you have to say, even though I may not agree with what you have to say, but let me hear what you have to say. And I think, yeah, I love the car, and I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind. Car every time, because I've got you know, older young people, and I just think that is going to be so brilliant for me to just say car before I have that conversation. So thank you very much for sharing. Really informative.
Listen, thank you for actually speaking out, to be fair, because as much as like we put these things on and we share information, I always like to listen to these things. I kind of pick up things from these, you see, so to kind of take forward to my own kind of situation with my son. So like you said, equality, 100%, definitely. I mean, kids nowadays, they're very vocal, okay? And I think with the fact of saying, I am the dad, and it's that power. And I feel like doing it in the past, it may have worked. I'm not saying it hasn't, but I feel like moving forward now, that is in secondary school, I kind of want him to be, I don't want him to be scared. Okay, if he feels that he's done something wrong, that I did something wrong. Oh, what happened, son? Okay. If he's at school and he's having a conversation with a member of staff or a teacher, and they're saying, look, you've done this wrong. I want him to say, you know what? Yes, I did do that wrong and I apologize. I did it. And then so he can explain himself, but he needs to understand that he will make mistakes. But it's just about owning up to them as well. And like you said, being equal. Okay, so thank you for that. I appreciate that. I've got another question. Okay, is that Miss Akila? Hello?
You know what? It's more of a statement than a question.
Okay.
I wanted to completely agree with everything that Veronica was saying.
Mhm.
And I feel that equality is just so important with the kids nowadays because sometimes it feels easy to slip into the old way of being. Well, not necessarily for us, but I see, with what we grew up with
Mhm.
it should be seen and not necessarily heard.
Heard.
And it's not in the same blatant way now, but sometimes you can still see in educational systems, you can
Mhm.
still see when adults are talking to young people.
Mhm.
And I just think that being able to show them equality and actually listen to what they have to say is so, so powerful. For a person to feel seen and heard, it's powerful as an adult. So as a child, to have their feelings, their thoughts, their existence validated by their parent is a
Mhm.
very, very powerful exercise. And if we give them that, then maybe they learn to communicate differently with us as well.
Mhm. Definitely, 100%. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
I love the presentation, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Can I see someone else's hand? I think I did see. Is it Royce? Yes, thank you. Sorry. Sorry, the
Yeah,
moving
thank
quite a
you.
bit.
Thank you for time. Thank you for the presentation. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
So a couple of points I want to make really is that, you know, certainly I experienced this growing up, that the adult believing that they are the intelligent one in the outfit. And as a child, I'm supposed to take a minimal place. Whereas the truth is, my brain is as intelligent as a child as an adult. So that's the starting point. And if we recognize that they have views and opinions, then we'll do the relationship different. I strongly say to parents that no is the most important word your child needs to learn to say. And they need to be able to practice saying no in the home. Because if they can't say no in the home, the groomer is waiting around the corner for them. And for us to recognize that just as we experience racism, our children do too. And if racism is a bad mark, we have between 3 and bedtime to give 12 or 13 positive strokes to counteract one bad mark.
Okay.
So if we are spending that time telling them off, we're adding to rather than taking away from the experience that they've had. So those are kind of 1 or 2 points I think I'd bring into the equation. And until our child becomes an adult, we must always stand in the place of advocacy for that child. So I go to schools and the children are saying, yeah, that teacher's racist, sir, that teacher's racist. The children know, yeah? And if we're saying, yeah, but you misbehave in class because of, that's because, you know how we feel when we bite our lip when we've experienced the racism. They do too, and occasionally it spills over, but they probably can't articulate and say, because this teacher did a racist act, I am responded in this way. So really listening to your children and standing in a place of advocacy for them until they become an adult. And, and that's up until at least 18 or 19 or 20, whatever age it is required, you stand in allyship and advocacy for them.
Perfect. I agree.
All right.
Thank you.
I make one small point. When we punish, use punishment as a tool for teaching, not as a punishment.
Okay.
So if I'm going to take your phone away, all I really need to do is take it away for 10 minutes. I take it away for 10 minutes, go away and think about this, come back and have a conversation with me about why I took your phone away. Yeah, Dad, you took my phone away because I did this, this, this. That's the lesson learned.
Yeah,
Here's your phone back.
yeah,
The idea that I'm going to take your phone for a week or a month, yeah, when we do that, we're actually preparing our children for the prison system.
Hmm.
Because that's what the prison system does. It shuts them down that you can't breathe and you can't move.
Mhm.
So 10 minutes, I've got your phone for 10 minutes, go away and think about it, come back, and you can have your phone back once we have the explanation, once you demonstrate you understand what you did.
Mhm. Perfect. Listen, I didn't
Thank
really
you.
look at it in that way before, but that is something that we've got to do moving forward.
Critically important,
100%.
because we're in a country that don't love us, so we
Mhm.
have to love our children.
Mhm. Definitely, 100%. I agree. Perfect. Thank you for that, Royce. I really do appreciate that. And I've even made notes as you was talking because, like I said, we're all learning. Come on, man. I'm not an expert at
Yeah.
everything. I'm still
Yeah.
learning. I've got a teenager now.
Yeah.
He's good in school, but he has his ups and downs. But we do have these conversations, and I've
Mhm.
learned something myself. So yeah, man, definitely. Thank you very much.
Yeah. If
Sorry,
if
go
you
on.
love it, if you love a child as punishment, they will be under your control for life. If we
Ah,
use tools for punishing, by the time they're 13 or 14, we've lost control.
control. And you know what? I have to agree. Working from a school, I used to work in a school as a maths teacher and head of year. And yeah, I see. You're right. You are right. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that.
All right, thank you.
Oh, I've got someone else. Okay, Doreen. Good afternoon.
That was excellent. It was a great presentation and very informative. So thank you so much for that. I'd also like to say thank you to Royston, who always brings his wisdom, great words, Royston. So thank you. I agree with all the comments that have been said. I think this course, this program in particular, works with parents to upskill them, give them that knowledge, give them the strategies, if you like, to do things differently. And that's the important thing about this program and everything else that Elevated Minds does, is look at doing things differently, isn't it? To advocate for your child. A lot of parents don't know how to do that because they don't feel they've got those skills. And if they do, it will go so far. And then, you'll go into a school where the head teacher or somebody else is talking to the parent in a way that makes them feel small, it makes them feel undervalued, and the child, and then obviously it's felt like that with the child. So what this course is doing is saying, okay, you are a parent, you've got responsibility for your child, you've got responsibility to your child, you need to advocate, you need to do things differently, speak to them differently so that they are understanding. So, you're not listening for and waiting for a response, but you're listening to understand your child more, and that encompasses the fairness aspect of what, when we talk to the young people, that's all they talk about, is not just that the teacher's unfair, but the parents are unfair. They don't listen to me, they treat me, and they believe the teachers. And so the importance of this course and what Sai has presented is saying, as parents, we can and we will do things differently. So you're right, in society, our children are not necessarily valued, and they're made to feel like that, not just in education, but in the communities in which they live as well. And, and with the big organizations within that community. So let's do it differently. Thank you so much for that, Sai.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry, I'm just making notes of everyone that spoke. I've got someone else with their hand up. Is it Dixie? Correct?
Hi everyone. Sorry, my video is off. I'm not in a room to show the picture. No, I just want to say thank you for inviting me. It's great discussions, and I agree with everybody. One of the things I think is most challenging is, as Black people, I'm from the Caribbean. I came here when I was 11. The education system in this country doesn't empower us as a community, and I think within this course, it's a great opportunity to actually bring up some historical context to empower parents. I think what lots of the issues I've come across in my own community living in Tottenham is, as Black people, we don't know our history and we're not empowered to teach our children in terms of their rights, their responsibilities, and loving themselves. And I find with a lot of Black children, I have Black children, 3 children, is I've had to always constantly reaffirm to them that they are equals within society. So how they conduct themselves and how their approaches to life is not from an inferior position. I think that is one of the challenges of a lot of parents when they are dealing with their young people, is we have our own inferiority complexes that we then superimpose on our children because we don't know our history. So what's important for me is, as a Black woman, a woman from Trinidad, grew up with, you know, go and pick your stick attitude before you get beat. I didn't come here with that attitude. You know, that's what we're told. Go to the yard, pick a stick. And if you picked a small one, then your grandparents would go out and pick a bigger one.
Yeah.
I've not brought that kind of narrative here, but what I do understand from it and what I've experienced is, as Black people, the education system does not empower us. So if you're born into the education system here, you as a Black parent need to go over and above outside of the education system to embrace and understand your culture that empowers you to be a better parent, because our history has bruised us in how we deal with our children. So a lot of the things that we do to our children have been things that have been imposed upon us, certain behaviors and certain attitudes. Because coming from the Caribbean, I came from a family that, yes, you know, narrative of licks like peas and all that kind of, you know, joke and dialogue. But I didn't grow up in a violent household. However, I was exposed to the odd slap when I did something wrong. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but attitudes were different. And I think coming to England, what I noticed growing up in education is when I came here as an 11-year-old, I was taught my history was slavery. So immediately that disempowered me and made me feel I was below par. So I had to go over and above my peers to kind of fight through those challenges. And through education and learning my history empowered me to love myself. So how I dealt with my children was, I didn't hit them. I didn't need to. I didn't need to confiscate things for weeks and months. It's having those challenging conversations. I wasn't always calm, but I wasn't the parent to throw and hit and batter my children around. And that's because I knew about myself and I knew my history and I knew the challenges and I did not want them to face it. And yet, as a family, we've going through difficult one of my children, but that hasn't disempowered me to still speak with a narrative that empowers him. He's going through a difficult time in the criminal justice system, but as a family, we still empower him because we don't want him to feel undervalued because the system already is trying to break him. So all I wanted to say, I mean, sorry to go on, but it's really empowering to listen to these kind of conversations, but also I think in your project is really important, I think, to give particularly Black parents a real background knowledge of their history, and not our history of slavery, but our history as engineers, of people of stature, of people of historical content, all that kind of stuff, because that will empower those parents to feel equal when they're having language and discussions with their children. If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I kind of, because I think we come from a place of hurt and pain and we inflict that on our children because we've come to a country where white superiority is seen as the superpower and is seen as right. So if a white teacher says that our Black children are behaving bad, we automatically believe that white teacher. And we've been programmed to believe that. And through the system, I have realized that teachers lie, schools will cover things, and you have to know yourself and know your children to believe what your child is capable of doing or not, and not always listen to what is documented because of an institution's perspective on your child. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
You know what? That's a good point. I think what I'm going to add to that, I think what you said at the end there is very important. You need to know your child, definitely. Because I think when I was working as head of year, just a quick story, I think I had to deal with a child who was a little bit problematic. And the head teacher said to me, be careful when you call her mum. My mum's really feisty. I was thinking, how's mum going to be feisty? I don't want, if she's wrong, she's wrong. So when I brought mum in, I never had an issue. I explained to mum what the problem was. And mum said, you know what, Mr. Campbell, that's what she's like at home. Simple conversation. The parent knew, and I came with facts. So you are right. Some teachers will paint a bad picture of your child. I get that.
It's not, I'm not just trying to discredit teachers and people in
Yeah,
education. I'm
definitely.
just saying, if we know our children,
Mhm.
and that starts within the home, we're not going to know everything. When
Very
children
true.
leave your home, they
Mhm.
do different things, they act differently. But the basic kind of grounding that you give them, that empowers them to have conversations in class that are difficult,
Mhm.
to kind of challenge certain behaviors in a productive way.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
they are not then dehumanized, because Black children in the education system, they grow tall, they're dehumanized. They're looked upon as aggressive because of their height, because of the shades of color of their skin.
Mhm.
I mean, that in itself, there's disparities in that. So they've got all those challenges, and then they come home to parents who then themselves feel less than.
Mhm.
So, you know, in your program, I think you can empower parents, but it's really important. Our history is so important to teach us the good aspects of our history, because that in itself turns our mindset as Black people. It changes how we view ourselves and view each other.
Mhm.
If that makes sense. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you for that. I appreciate that 100%. I'm making notes, so I know you guys are talking. I'm still writing because there's things that people are saying that I actually appreciate. And I'm just kind of, I can take back to my team, and we can add into the program if need be. Let me see. Is anyone else? No, I think we're okay. Am I still sharing the screen? No, I'm not. Okay. There was one more part of the slide that I kind of wanted to end. And it wasn't just for, I can do it, because I remember what I put on the PowerPoint. What I want people to think about as well is, if there are any children in the room that who are listening, because I know some parents will be like, you know what, I want you to listen to this. Let me just go to the actual slide because I can share now. Sorry, guys. Right. So now, and basically to finalize the webinar is, next time you're having a challenging conversation, you are the parent or the guardian or even a teacher, even if you come from, if you're watching from a teacher's perspective. Okay, remember CAR. Thank you, Veronica. Okay, because you're going to want someone that's going to remember it. Connection, awareness, and respect. And the environment will also play a big part. Okay, my understanding now is I'm never ever going to speak to him in his bedroom again. Okay, because he likes to go for the drive. Okay, so we're going to go for a drive, and he knows my focus is going to be on him listening and understanding what he has to say. Remember the type of questions. Okay, leading questions. Please don't do those. Okay. And also from a young person's point of view, okay, think before you do something which may put you in a predicament to having a challenging conversation. Not just about the parents or the guardians or even the teacher, just if any children are here, okay, just think, okay? So if there's a problem at school or on the road with your friends and you can see something that's going to happen, walk away. Don't get yourself involved, okay? Apologize if you know you are wrong, okay? If you are wrong, own up to your mistakes and be honest, okay? I don't want to put the ownership just on the parents or the guardian, okay? It needs to be both ways, okay? A quote that I mentioned earlier, okay? If you are one of these parents that were like myself, okay, the biggest problem, okay, please try and remember that because it will help you when you're having your challenging conversation, okay? We do not listen to understand, we listen to reply, okay? Any questions? Well, I think we've had a few questions already. Are there any more questions that anyone would like to have? I know kind of you guys jumped in and that's fine. That wasn't a problem. I just wanted to get this last bit in because I wanted to show it's not just about the parent. It's about the young people as well. Any more questions? I don't know. I can see something in the chat. Oh, thank you. This was amazing. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And you know what? I do want to thank the people who actually spoke out. Sometimes you do these things and you think to yourself, are there any questions? And no one ever answers a question or anyone wants to speak. So Veronica, Michaela, Royston, Dorian and Dixie, thank you very much for adding in your points. I really appreciate it. Because yeah, it's good to hear what other people think. Okay, it's not just what we think. It's good to hear what everyone else has to say as well. Well, thank you all.
I'll give you one quote to add to your repertoire.
Thank you very much, sir. Go ahead.
Revenge is a dish best served cold.
Revenge is the best.
Revenge is a dish
The dish, yeah.
best served cold.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
because we have this saying, we strike while the iron is hot. In relation to our children, we
Mhm.
strike while the iron is cold.
Perfect. I like that. I like that.
Takes away all of the tension and the distress.
Mhm.
The emotions. Yeah, heightened emotions.
Thank you. I appreciate. I've written it down. Don't listen. All these things. Yeah. Come on, man. We're always learning. No one can ever say, "Oh, I know everything," because we don't. But yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done, Si.
Thank you.
Team.
Well, if there's anything else, because
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. We did say